Boxing Ego here. If you like this video, make sure you hit the like button and also subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon on the top of your screen to get notified when the latest new content drops. Wow. What up, fight world? It's your boy Ego and I'm back with some more boxing, enjoying my March 4th. I just watched David Haye versus Tony Bellew. Upset alert. Upset alert. Now I want to get my post-fight, tell you what I thought of the fight. First, let me get the particulars out. Shout out to Tony Bellew. He did what a lot of people thought he would not be able to do, which was move up from cruiserweight, where he's a champion. You got to give him a lot of credit because he has a WBC belt at cruiserweight coming off of a emphatic win over BJ Flores. He could have easily looked for cruiserweight challenges, but he had this score to settle with David Haye. They sparred in the past, done some trash talking, and he made the plunge up. So I got to give him respect for that. He did knock out David Haye in the 11th round, and I want to kind of break that down. David Haye, let's start from the top. David Haye had the slowest ring walk on earth, and I was like, oh my gosh, like when are we going to get to this? So I was getting impatient for that. But I think in the early rounds, like round 1, Tony Bellew, he actually looked, they're both listed at the same height, 6'3", but Bellew looked taller. Looked like he kind of had to fill up to make the division. Like it didn't look like he was like diesel, or didn't look like it was natural weight. It kind of reminded me, put me in the mind frame of when Josito Lopez moved up to 54 to fight Canelo. Like he was taller than Canelo, but he didn't necessarily look like a true 154 pounder. It looked like he like ate his way up, or didn't, you know what I mean, wasn't worried about cutting weight, so to speak. But in round 1, I thought Bellew was boxing well. He was using his timing, and I didn't like Haye's game plan in round 1. I thought he was trying to live up to what he said pre-fight, and he was getting wild. He was lunging in, and I guess he just thought, because this guy's a cruiserweight, a division that Haye came from also, but years ago, I guess he thought that, like, based on him being the smaller man, he was going to just go in there and plow through him. And that's not what from everything I've seen in boxing, that's not how it's done. At the elite level, not saying if a professional boxer fights a guy who just turned pro or a person off the street, but at the elite level, this is a champion in just a division below. You know what I mean? Most likely, more often than not, you're going to have to put something together. You're not going to just necessarily run through him when he has about the same size frame as you. You know what I'm saying? And he's a champion in the division below. So, really didn't like that from Haye. That's the bad for Haye early, is he was just too reckless, and like he thought he was just going to steamroll him. And I even tweeted this. I said Haye needs to put the bad blood aside and the fact that he's the bigger man and put it together. Work behind the jab, put some combinations together. Round 2, I think they both settled in. See, this is the bad blood fights. This is the good and the bad for it. The good is for the fans because it's always tense and stuff, but the bad for the fighters, a lot of times they can't control their emotions, so they know everything that they said and was said leading up to the fight, so they're almost like jittery in that first round a lot of times because there's so much bad blood and tension, and you've been training 6, 8, 10 week, whatever your camp was, and you have all that fuel in you. You know what I mean? You want to make good on your promises, so people get too eager. But I thought they slowed it down in round 2. Haye was jabbing, and he had calmed down a little bit from the round 1 where he was like totally reckless. Haye was doing early most of the stalking. He was aggressively stalking. I thought Bellew was doing a good job, a great job actually, staying smart, not getting caught with something silly early, and just boxing, capitalizing with some counters. It looked like Bellew, even based on the size, it didn't look like his body. He didn't look like no bodybuilder, nothing like that. He didn't look like Anthony Joshua, but he was still pretty swift in there. And there was a couple times early he made Haye miss wildly, and Haye's an explosive, fast guy too, especially for a heavyweight. And he made him miss wildly, and he would counter him. So I like that from Bellew, very composed. And round 4, to me, was Haye's best round so far in the fight. He was aggressive, but he was effective, and he had clipped Bellew with some consecutive power shots that clearly woke him up and had him like backpedaling a bit. So I thought he looked good. David Haye looked good in round 5 too. He was setting things up. David Haye has this crazy style, like kind of like Sergio Martinez, Roy Jones. He had his hands extremely low, and he was like feinting and trying to bait Bellew in and try to explode with some shit. And you could tell he came from cruiserweight, and that he, you know what I'm saying, overall he just, that movement and stuff, he's not like a clunky heavyweight where he can't move. But I like round 4 for David Haye. I thought that was his best round. Round 5 was a good round for him. Again, multiple jabs, and I said he needed to do that more and more. But he started to get into a rhythm, and I said on the tweet that Bellew need to start making some offensive stands, because it looked like Haye was getting into a rhythm. Now, round 6 was where it became a movie. Man, boxing is so crazy. You can't make this shit up. And round 6 started off like a regular round, and in the round, midway through, David Haye like did something. They didn't know, it wasn't immediately clear what he did, but he hurt his leg and he could barely stand up. So Bellew seen that and tried to jump on him, pounce on him, and Haye made it out the round. But walking back to his corner and stuff, you could see something was wrong with him. And I was like, is this a knee injury? I tweeted, I was like, damn, this looks like Sam Solomon versus Jermaine Taylor. His equilibrium was off. He couldn't stand. He was clearly debilitated. You could see something was wrong with his leg, because all of a sudden he was like walking funny, like he had a peg leg or something. So that's when the fight got crazy. And I mean, that's really all of the post fight, because after that it was Tony Bellew. He at first was trying to get Haye out of there because he knew he was hurt and shit. So he was, you know what I mean, tried to attack that vulnerability. But in the process, that plus I think coupled with the extra weight, he started to gas out. So he started to fight in spots. Now, I'm not gonna go in on David Haye and bash him and rip him, because what he did was some real movie shit. Like, he was literally fighting with one arm. Now, I know there are gonna be some people out there who are like, this is what you get, Haye, and stuff like that. And to a degree, I understand it, because Haye, for some of his big fights, the Klitschko fight, he had big shit to talk, and he was supposed to be the dude to beat Klitschko. And then after, it was his pinky toe. And in the build-up, he was saying it's going to be one of the worst knockouts in British history. So to a degree, he kind of brought this on himself, saying he's going to destroy Bellew, and you know what I'm saying? But I have some compassion, you know what I mean? Because I know fighters, I know people who have been had sports injuries, just like gruesome shit. Actually, my dad was playing football in the military. They had like a little football league, and someone cleated his Achilles, and it slit the Achilles in half sideways, and my dad couldn't walk. So I remember everything he went through dealing with that. And those, I don't know exactly, because I'm not a doctor. All I could see is it was something wrong with his leg. I couldn't tell if it was he broke his ankle, if he hurt his Achilles, his meniscus, the fucking knee. I don't know. But I remember with my dad, he literally couldn't stand. He had to have crutches, and they had to put, I think, some metal pins or some shit in his Achilles or something, in his ankle. And for David Haye to even perform and at least have the heart to carry on for some rounds and not get knocked out, I mean, that was some movie shit, like some real life Rocky shit. And then there were a couple spots in there where Haye, like, it looked like he, with one leg, he clocked Bellew and got his attention. It's just that type of injury was real bad. Like, it's almost worse than having one arm. You know what I'm saying? You could probably do better with one arm. If you have one hand to throw punches and you broke your other arm or dislocated your shoulder, that's almost better. But your leg is your base, your foundation. That has a lot. People take things for granted when you have them until you have to live without them. You know what I mean? Like Vietnam War veterans or something who have to get a leg amputated. Now they have to live with life with one or no legs. It's a different ball game. So people you take things for granted when you have them, like, oh, my balance and stuff like that. But the leg injury, whatever he had, was pretty bad just because he couldn't stand. And then also, part of his MO is being a heavyweight with explosive power and boxing ability. And he couldn't really generate any power because your legs, your legs have a lot to do with power generated. Look at Mike Tyson. Look at his like thighs and shit. Look at Pacquiao, another guy with certified power. Look at Pacquiao's fucking calf muscles. They look like hunks of meat or something, you know what I mean? And that's where your power is generated. So it was just always, after that injury, it was always an uphill battle to win the fight, because you're not even mobile, you know what I mean? Sergio Martinez versus Cotto, similar thing. I mean, you could tell he could barely stand, so all you could do is really take punches and hope to catch someone. Now when people say lucky punch shit, that is closer to what a lucky punch. Marquez knocking Pacquiao out, that's not a lucky punch. Marquez hit Pacquiao with that right for the first 3 fights, you know what I'm saying, several times. But like, that's what David Haye would have needed. He would have needed like Bellew to be basically so foolish he just kind of came in and he was able to clip him with something that generated enough power. But Bellew was smart, and even though he was gassed out, he was at the advantage because he could just take a step back. You see, you know what I mean, a guy can't rush you with one leg, and Bellew knew that. So even though he was gassed out and fatiguing, punching himself out, and probably from carrying the extra weight, he was able to always just kind of take a step back and take a breather and fight more at his pace. So really, beyond the injury, it was just David Haye showing heart, but it was all Tony Bellew rounds. And then in the 11th, Tony Bellew stopped him. He knocked him down. Had him. It kind of looked like Bernard Hopkins versus Joe Smith Jr., to be honest. And he had him down and it hit him with the punch, and he fell through the ropes. David Haye, to his credit, he tried to get back up and try to get back in the ring, but David Haye's corner threw in the towel, because I mean, he would needed a knockout to win at that point, you know what I mean? So sad ending to that. I don't even know if Haye will come back and fight, you know what I mean? I don't know how long with the ETAs for an injury like that, but kind of embarrassing to go out like that, you know what I mean? Just based on the pride and the shit. You can see how discouraged he looked when there's a couple of times, like when the injury first happened, David Haye was on the canvas and you just look at him, he's just like, I cannot fucking believe this is happening. He just looked so distraught and disappointed. That's another thing, is you gotta understand, like, when you get injured or you get shot or anything like that happens, a lot of times your body goes into shock, your adrenaline levels kick up and stuff like that. So to see what David Haye did was pretty impressive, because I know when that first happened, I mean, you know something's wrong with your body. And Haye was like, that shoots your adrenaline up, and you know what I mean, fatigue can set in because you're using so much energy. Plus Tony Bellew's trying to take your head off because he knows you're hurt. So you exert a lot of energy. So to see David Haye even trying and not get knocked out like flush was pretty impressive. He showed a massive heart. I don't know where he goes from here. I don't know if he's going to come back. I don't know if they'll do a rematch. I don't know. But he showed heart. It was just some injuries you can't overcome. Like I said, having a dislocated shoulder would have almost been better, because you at least have your base, your foundation, so you can still generate some power and throw punches. Like you can land a pretty significant uppercut with 2 feet and 1 arm. You know what I'm saying? And then 1 hurt arm. So let me know what you guys think. Shout out to Tony Bellew. I'm pretty sure he's going to drop back down to cruiserweight. It's not that he looked terrible here. I mean, he showed he can even take a punch, because a lot of people question that. He lost to Adonis Stevenson at light heavyweight, and he got stopped in that fight. So, I mean, his chin, he did get caught when Haye had 2 feet, 2 fists, 2 arms, and he got caught with some flush shots, and he ate him, namely in the 4th round, I think it was. And he showed he could take a punch, but I'm pretty sure he'll go back down to cruiserweight and maybe try to fight with Usyk or whatever his name is, Andrew Tabiti, or one of the Huck or somebody. Let me know what you guys think of a fight. Definitely like a movie, like some kind of Hollywood shit. That was crazy. Cruiserweight moving up, and then he does the unthinkable. It's just a chain reaction of events that happen. I don't know what it is, like, with David Haye's body always breaking up. Like, it's like some unbreakable shit, like, oh, Mr. Glass. So I wish David Haye a speedy recovery. Crazy fight. You almost couldn't believe what was happening. It really felt like Creed Part 2. You know what I mean? Pretty Ricky Connellan, like, he showed up. But Tony Bellew, even when both fighters were able bodies, he was boxing well to me, and he was timing Haye. But that's That's part of the problem when you trash talk and stuff and it doesn't pan out for you. That's the Real Deal Breakdown. David Haye, Tony Bellew. Drop it in the comment section. Let me know what you guys thought. As always, hate, comment, and subscribe. Till next video, is Ego signing off. So if you enjoyed this video and want more content like this on the channel, you can show your appreciation by going to the PayPal donate button or the YouTube support button, and you can donate any amount that you feel is equivalent to the value of this video. Much more to come. Thank you guys for your support. Boxing Ego, the future of boxing.